Hello and welcome, everyone. I know there are still some people rolling through. Thank you so much for joining us today at today's webinar, the Coaching Playbook. I would love to just pop into the chat if you can hear and see us clearly. Just give us a quick thumbs up or a yes in the chat. That would be amazing. We'll wait a couple of minutes just for everyone to jump in. And in the meantime, we'd really love to know where you're joining us from. If you're happy to share, pop in your organisation as well. It's always really great to see who's in the room here. Everyone's coming in. Fantastic. Thanks, Alex. That's wonderful.
Morning,
We'll
all.
get started in just a moment.
Nice to see some familiar faces.
Wonderful. All right. So I'd like to begin by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land on which we're all learning today, and I pay my respects to elders past and present, and also extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples today. We are so pleased that you are here with us today because our topic is one that really impacts how we show up and succeed as leaders. So we believe that here at the heart of great leadership is the ability to coach, to build capability, to build confidence and accountability through really meaningful conversations. So whether you're supporting someone through a challenge, maybe unlocking potential in your own team, or even shifting a culture, we truly believe that coaching is a key skill that can really make a difference. So in today's session, you can see here the agenda on the screen. We're going to be exploring what effective coaching looks like in action, and also share some practical tools that you can start using straight away. We're then also going to move through to a brief Q&A session, and we encourage you to engage with us in the chat as we go through the session, ask questions, share any reflections that you have, and also connect with others through the chat. And we encourage you to, of course, stick around to the end because we'll be sharing a little bit about our Leadership Excellence Program and how you can go deeper into your development around these topics. We've also got a pretty special gift for those of you who stay with us to the end as our way of saying thank you for sharing your time with us. So we would like to dive in. It is my absolute pleasure to introduce two brilliant facilitators and leadership experts, Phillip Ralph, founder and CEO of the Leadership Sphere, and Louise Duncan, senior facilitator and all-round awesome human. Thank you.
Thanks, Kelly. Gee, you've got to love that introduction, don't you? Hey, everyone. Good morning. Yeah, great to be here. So the leadership or the coaching playbook, I think for me, is such a powerful idea and principle, and one that we've been using and talking to organizations and teams and individuals for many years now. So we're really excited to deliver this to you today and hopefully engage in a conversation as well. So it's definitely not one way. For those who don't know us, I know there's some very familiar faces on the call, so hi. For those who do know us and for some time, so we've been around for 18 years, we're in our 19th year now, and really providing leadership development solutions to individuals, teams and organizations to help people thrive. So that's our core kind of purpose. And we have a whole bunch of streams of delivery around individual, team and organization, as mentioned. So it's a really quick overview of us as an organization, and Leader as Coach, and coaching has been a key part of what we've done for many years now. Just a little bit about me for those who don't know me. Yeah, I didn't run away and join the circus when I was 18. I joined the Victoria Police. I spent 18 years there, had a wonderful career there, really enjoyed it. A lot in the corporate side. So I was with the psychology unit for 4 years. I was involved in a whole of organisation training program to make police officers more safe in terms of fatal shootings, which had remarkable results. In the 10 years subsequent, the fatal shooting rate went down 60% as a result of a culture change program and teaching people how to have better conversations in the split second that sometimes decisions have to be made. Rather than just escalate the conflict, how do you actually de-escalate it very, very quickly? So that was a program that I'm very proud of and the results that we achieved. Personally, you can see I've got a young family there, a police officer, as a detective, an ambulance officer, and a student. So I've written or contributed to 3 books as well. The one I wrote was Leadership Without Silver Bullets, which people tell me is a compelling, simple yet compelling read. So that's what most people seem to say. So that's a little bit about me. Lou.
Great. Hi, everyone. It's so lovely to be here joining you. As Kelly and Phil have introduced me, I'm Louise Duncan, a senior consultant, facilitator and coach at the Leadership Sphere. And it's my absolute pleasure to be joining you here. I love this work. I've been working with people for more than 30 years across different industries and in different capacities, from private practice to coaching, facilitation work in different arenas. And I just love what I do here. What it does is it really connects me to my core belief that we can never stop learning about ourselves and about who we aspire to be and how can we find our way forward, whether that's in an individual capacity or within the teams that we belong to and the organisations that we're connected with. So that's just a little briefly about myself professionally. You can see there personally, my husband and I, we have 3 young adult sons. I would love to say kids, but my youngest turned 18 just 2 weeks ago, so I'm still coming to terms with that. There's a couple of images there around where I go to really to refill my cup, and it's the ocean and nature, so that I can continue doing what I love to do in the best possible way. And then those 3 images really up the top are connected to my why. Why do I do what I do? And I'm passionate about supporting people to find connection in whatever way that looks for them, both internally and externally. Staying curious, always asking good questions, which is a lot about what today is about. And then connecting with their aspirations and how they can find their best way forward. So that's a little bit about me. What I would like to do is actually jump straight into the content. And where I'm going to begin is just acknowledging the unique power of conversations. Today, we're going to be looking at the power of conversations in the context of coaching. But we don't often stop to think about this unique power that conversations hold, that they have the capacity to shape our ideas, to mold our understanding, to forge the future that we collectively aspire to. They also have the innate ability to spark innovation and inspiration, to be powerful tools for change, and to also influence perspectives and shape actions. So this morning, Phil and I, we're going to share a couple of core concepts and frameworks in relation to this, or the umbrella of coaching. But it's important to understand conversations as a whole and their unique power, because no matter how experienced we are, no matter how technically excellent we are, there will always be some type of conversation that feels more difficult than others. So with that in mind, if I could invite you to take a moment to read this quote from Brené Brown. Clear is kind, unclear is unkind. And if I could ask, it would be great to hear from just a couple of you, if you could unmute, and just what is your response to this when you hear it? What are the thoughts that come to you when you read this? Does anyone feel like jumping in? Nicole, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. One of my favourite quotes, so thank you for sharing it. I think often I'm going to talk for myself, when I feel like withholding because I tell myself I'm caring about the other person. What I really relate to here is I know that I'm saving myself, the discomfort of having to brave that vulnerability or brave the reaction that I don't know what's going to happen. So I really relate to that here. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Nicole. Who can relate to that for anyone? Can put a thumbs up or hands up. Yes, yeah. I know I can certainly relate to it personally. Yes, thank you. So anyone else, what's your response when you see this quote? If you'd like to circle back, oh, Linda, yes.
Yeah, thank you. Like Nick too, I love the quote. I think, and I use it frequently. It's such a cool quote. And sometimes I hear people say, you've got to be cruel to be kind. And I just think, oh, that's such a funny saying to me. And I've heard it for probably most of my life. But actually, you don't need to be cruel. So people think that being upfront is being cruel, but it's actually not. It's one of the kindest things you can do. So even just reframing that, got to be cruel to be kind, I think is a kind thing even for ourselves.
Yes, yeah, I love that, Linda. I think a lot of us have, we grew up with that sort of that saying, didn't we? Oh, just go in hard and be cruel to be kind, tough love. And yet, this is how I know. Like the clearest and kindest thing we can do often is just to find a way to be really clear. And yet, things get in the way of it.
Sorry, I was just going to say it's the same as brutal honesty, isn't it? Just be honest.
Yeah. And I love that too, Phil, and connected with Linda, and we're going to talk about language and how do we use language in a positive way so we can be clear and actually enhance the conversations that we have, even if they feel difficult. So I'm just starting with here because it sounds simple and yet it's not necessarily simple. Things get in the way. And if I could invite you to just pop in the chat, when you think about a conversation that feels difficult, what gets in the way for you? Be great just to, anything that comes up for you. We've heard Nicole's experience, also Linda reframing. Lovely to hear. What gets in the way? Expressing, thank you. Yes, expressing emotions and feelings. Anxiety about another person's reaction and hurting them. Yeah, it's often, isn't it, afraid to hurt others if we're really clear, speaking our truth, not wanting to hurt others. Yeah. Great to hear a couple more. My own emotions, yes. If something feels emotional to me, then it's hard to speak without emotion. Yes. Yeah, thank you. Reactions, yeah, and others being receptive of feedback, so not quite knowing how it's going to land. Remaining clear when I'm emotional, wanting to be liked. Yes, I can relate to that as well. Will that be impacted? And recognizing that my opinion is not necessarily right. Thank you. So everyone, thank you so much. And really, we ask this question of all the groups that we work with because it really is so important for us to begin to recognize the personal lens that we carry into conversations, particularly the ones that feel deep. And what we're going to do now, this is sort of the slide that I've brought up is really a lovely summary of what you've also mentioned. And what I would like to draw your attention to is our human-centered leadership model, because everything that we do in TLS is grounded in human-centered leadership. And why I'm bringing your attention to this here and now is because human-centered leadership is about putting people first. It's about how we show up authentically, vulnerably, with accountability in any given circumstance, because from that place we lead. And this is connected intimately then to how we communicate and how we enter into conversations. How can we create environments, or when we lead from this place, we create environments where people feel valued, where they do their best work, and where innovation thrives. And that's the heart of human-centered leadership. It's about people. How do we bring the best out in people? So you're going to hear to leadership mind from Kelly. I'm drawing particularly, Phil and I are drawing particularly from our leading people model because it is ultimately about people. What I would also like to do is ask the question, and some of you have alluded this already in your response to Brené Brown's quote, but when you think about a difficult conversation, whether it's in a coaching scenario or not, what do you tend towards? Do you tend to move towards or away naturally in any given circumstance? Understanding that this can be contextual. So a lovely way to look at this is drawing this model from Susan Scott, her Fierce Conversations book. And she says that more often than not, generally speaking, we tend towards either moving away, avoiding, or moving towards seeking these difficult conversations. So just take a moment to cast your eye over that.
Lou, the slide hasn't advanced. Did you have wanted approaches to conflict?
Oh,
Slide.
sorry, thank you.
I'll move it forward for you.
Yeah, thank you. So can I ask, who knows, looking at this, generally speaking, understand it's contextual, who knows that they tend to move away from difficult conversations initially? Well, you can put a thumbs up, some of you. Sometimes, I know, it depends on the context. Yeah. Who knows they seek them out? Yeah, thumbs up for the avoid. Great. What about the seeking out? Yeah, great. Okay, seek. So it is contextual, isn't it? It's just about starting to understand, because ultimately self-awareness is the foundation of really truly great leadership. The more we can be aware about our tendencies, we can begin to understand whether they support us or they're more of a learning edge and we need to adjust. So the last thing that I would like to share before we move into specifically around coaching is understanding the different levels of conversation, because it's important to do this due to the fact that they will demand different things from us. This is drawn from a book called Crucial Conversations and by Patterson et al. And what they say is there's 4 different levels of conversation. The first, getting and setting expectations. This is your coffee chat. It's hi, welcome to a new team member. Hey, we're exploring this new initiative, but it's about building a relationship and just getting to know the other person, or setting expectations, as it says. The next level is around coaching, and that's our focus today. So really looking at how do we bring the best out in others? How do we encourage them to connect with their potential? And it's about them supporting the other person to seek to find clarity in what they're looking for. The next element is the crucial conversations. We actually covered this in our last webinar. If you haven't seen it, then we can certainly send it through to you. But this is more the conversation that if we don't have it, there's serious consequences. So they're traditionally can be very difficult conversations, maybe around feedback or a difficult decision. And the last one is the performance. And this is often includes the elements, the levels below. It says there they should be frequent and often, long past the simple one performance coaching conversation per year. We understand they need to be more frequent and engaged. What Patterson et al. Say is that as we move up the pyramid, more planning and preparation is needed. So as mentioned today, our focus is on coaching. And what I would like to do is invite Phil to jump in.
Great. Thanks, Lou. So we're going to move into, the language of coaching, and also to start with a definition. Now, there's lots of definitions about coaching, so there's just a couple that we prefer, and this one from John Whitmore, who's kind of widely regarded as the father of coaching. Had the pleasure of meeting him several times, did some of his courses, had a lunch with him. Talk about a font of wisdom and knowledge. But coaching is unlocking a person's potential to maximize their own performance. It is helping them to learn rather than teaching them. So it's just a nice short definition, I think. What I wanted to do, though, is really just jump into a quick exercise that might bring this to life a little. We've been using this exercise for a while, and I change the goal each time. But today, I would love your help to get a little bit fitter. And I'd love 5 volunteers, thereabouts, just to pop in the chat, pick me, and probably not a professional coach, maybe someone who doesn't do this for a living, maybe don't volunteer, but if you wanted to volunteer, that's absolutely fine as well. But I'd love just 5 people to say, yep, pick me, and you're just going to help me get a little bit fitter. Who's game to jump in? If you're in person, this is when people look down at the carpet, or they look out the window and say, oh, I think I know someone going past. How do I elegantly exit this as quickly as possible? Thanks, Natalie. If you wouldn't mind unmuting yourself, I think you have that power. Couple more, come on. Shall we voluntold some people? Hey, Melissa, how about you have a go? Melissa and I have known each other for, I don't know, 20 years or something.
Been a long time.
How are you, Melissa?
This, so.
Excellent. So we've got Melissa and Natalie. Who else can we get? Maybe one more would be awesome. I'm assuming that phone call from Linda's real. She's not just putting that phone up to her ear so I don't choose her. How about you, Campbell? You're just in my bottom right-hand corner. Are you able to unmute and turn your camera on? Campbell might be having some lunch. No. We just need one more volunteer. I think just 2 people is probably a little bit hard for those.
Tanya.
Thank you, Tanya. You're a legend. So I'm just trying to find where Tanya is. If you could unmute, please, Tanya, and also turn your camera on if you can, just so we can see you. Excellent. Thank you, Tanya. Look at you go. Okay, so it's over to you 3. If you'd help me get a little bit fitter, that would be awesome. Where would you start?
Probably assess your current fitness.
Okay. Yep. Good. Thank you.
Put you on a program.
Put me on a program. Let's assuming that rather than what would you do, you're actually talking to me. So what would you be saying? What would you ask me or tell me or whatever you think might be helpful for me?
Okay. So what are your goals, Phil?
Okay. My goals are to, get a bit fitter. I used to exercise every day for many years and that habit has dropped off. So yeah, this is real, by the way. It's not a made up goal.
And when you say fitter, what do you mean by fitter? Can you explain that a bit more?
Probably trim down a little bit. Aerobic fitness is really important to me. So I ride a bike, mountain bike, and also go for a jog at the moment. So just that aerobic fitness and trimming down a little bit. I'm not that interested in kind of bulking up and being more muscular. It's more about a cardiovascular fitness for me.
Maybe speak to an expert in that area to help you.
Who would you recommend?
A personal trainer at a gym.
Okay.
Or do you know anyone or have in your previous?
I know lots of people, actually. I was just talking to an ex-colleague. My first degree was in applied science, physical education. So I kind of understand the science and the theory, but I'm like many other people, I get out of the flow or, a constructive rut. So I'm way well and truly out of the habit at present.
I'd probably be great to maybe, have you ever thought about having an accountability buddy, maybe someone to exercise with, Phil, that could help you stick to, the plan to work towards your goals?
Yeah, I have thought about it. I do struggle with that. Having someone who lives nearby, I guess we don't have to exercise together. You're just saying be accountable. So yeah, maybe I'm dodging accountability.
Yeah, I think if you have a program in place, I went through this thing actually myself.
Right. Did you?
And I was doing it myself, and then I just paid extra to see the trainer, and then within a week, 2 weeks, I realized, and he said at the time I wasn't doing it properly.
Right.
And he showed me, and I've seen results like immediately. So I think you do need that person to guide you, particularly if you've fallen off the wagon, and make sure that you're doing it in a way that will achieve results.
And
yeah, my daughter, she goes swimming, and I've kind of avoided that, but maybe I should go with her. She hasn't invited me, by the way, so that's interesting.
And do you have a time frame, Phil, about how long, when? I don't know.
I need to start immediately, Tanya.
Okay. And when you say to get fitter and to trim down, do you have a time frame of when that How long to achieve that?
Yeah, I do try and avoid the weight loss conversation, which is what I was trying to say, trim down, but that's exactly what I want to do. So I do want to lose about 3 to 4 kilos in the next month or two kind of thing. So I don't have any particular special occasion or anything coming up. I just want to reclaim my previous youth, maybe in some small way.
I've actually been on a similar journey where, you know, I found weight loss can be a struggle, and it can be really confronting. But I think one of the things that I did that really helped was speak to a nutritionist who was able to incorporate, you know, a plan in a way that I could fit it into my lifestyle.
Yep.
So is that something that you'd consider? Maybe
yep, definitely.
refer you to my nutritionist?
Maybe I spoke to a nutritionist once many years ago, but yeah, they were quite helpful actually. Yep. Thank you.
And what does success look like for you?
Yeah, as I mentioned, I think it's about my aerobic fitness primarily. So just being fitter, feeling fitter, having more energy, you know, throughout the day. Yeah, I think my goals are simple. It's just how to get there.
So what do you think you could do maybe today or in the next few days to head towards that goal?
I could probably just go for a walk. That's a simple thing to do and doesn't impact the joints. Although at my age, I'm lucky that I can still run. I still run the bush and I don't have any, we live near some bush and I love running, yeah, in the forest, and that's my happy place. All right, we might stop there. I did this exercise to say, you know, with an executive team I'd been working with for a couple of years, and the chief nursing officer said, "Why don't you stop being a fat pig and stop eating so much?" That's exactly what she said to me. That's exactly what she said to me. I just couldn't talk. I was laughing that hard. I thought, oh my goodness, it was just hilarious.
Is that brutal honesty?
Oh, yeah. You've got to know her, I guess. She was a gem, and it was taken and said in the right spirit. But all right, thank you so much.
That's cruel, but not so kind.
That's right. Oh dear. You can probably notice that I was putting some strokes, and thank you so much to Melissa, Tanya, and Natalie. That was awesome. Some strokes in the top left-hand box and the yellow box. Any guesses as to what those boxes represent?
Working with people and ideas?
Yeah, no, not quite.
Understanding your current goal.
Yeah, kind of. So the first box was open questions. And so every time you ask me an open question, which normally starts with, as it says there, what, how, when, what if, tell me about, describe, etc., I put a stroke. When you told me what I should do or asked a closed question, which really just required a yes/no response, I put a stroke in the bottom box. And so it probably won't surprise you, even when I'm working with people who say they coach a lot or they've done coach training before. You know, I'm talking about leaders in organizations. Most of the time, there's about 4 times as many strokes in the closed question box, or just tell me what I should do box, which of course isn't coaching. And that's not to say it's not right. It's not about right or wrong or what have you. But what we're going to do for the rest of this hour is really understand, well, what is the difference and what's the cost of telling people what they should do, or making suggestions, all with the right intention and with heart and compassion and empathy and all of the things that we saw today. But there's a cost to be able to doing that. The watch outs, what do you reckon would be in the watch out? What language as a coach or manager as coach should we be careful not to say? Any guesses at all on that one?
Perhaps what you should. Oh, sorry.
Sorry, who'd like to go?
Go, Nat.
Go, Natalie.
Using the word I. Like, if it's coming from you and you're talking about thoughts and suggestions for other people's experiences, it may not come across genuine to them.
Okay. Yeah, that's not one of them, but I like your thinking. Nicole, I think you had something as well. Did you?
Yeah, I was saying, am I on mute? Yeah. What you should do.
Right.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Mm.
So that covered off quite nicely. I think the watch outs that we talk about is when we ask someone why. So what would be the problem with asking people why? A why question?
Feels like they have to explain themselves. It doesn't necessarily feel like an understanding question. It feels like a judgment comment.
Yeah, 100%. Thank you, Jill. Just noticed you there. Hi, Jill. Haven't seen you for a long time. So yeah, exactly. So it's why didn't you include X in the report? Can take us back to, you know, when we're 5 and where parents are asking, why didn't you tidy up your room? Now, of course, tone is really important here. Rather than saying why, we might say, help me understand why you, I know there's a why there, but help me understand the reasons for not including that in the report, or etc. So it can feel less confrontational. What would be the problem with we? Because we is one of those cultural things that we want, you know, a collective culture. We want to feel like we're in a group or a team.
Mm.
What's the problem in saying we when we're in a coaching context? I'm the coach and I'm using we.
It's too general.
Yeah,
Includes
it can also,
everyone.
sorry, what was that?
I'm just thinking that it's not specific to the person and it's too
Right,
general.
exactly. Thanks, Tanya. I was coaching a CEO in a hospital, and she was talking about an executive who had been quite problematic in terms of their performance. And I role played with this individual, and the CEO used the word we 13 times. So what are we going to do about your department? I said, just take the we out. What are you going to do about your department? I'm here to support you, but the we can dilute it. She had that conversation the next day, and the executive resigned because suddenly the tension, the seriousness of the conversation, just by changing out we for you, really hit, and said, okay, this is serious now. I need to either come up with a plan or I'm going to leave. And this individual decided to leave. Fuzzy language. This is not from the coach. This is when we hear this from the person we're coaching, whether it be a direct report or in a professional context. But when we hear perhaps, maybe this is Nicole should, you know, could, or I might, or I'll try and get that report to you Friday. Could you imagine if you had to have some kind of operation, your surgeon said, I'll try and take out your appendix on Friday. See how we go. You probably find another surgeon, right? And so when you get fuzzy language back from people that you want them to commit to an action and be accountable for something, just watch out for language which is kind of giving them a way out. Thoughts on that? Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yep, brilliant. And so the other reason we like open questions, of course, is because this continuum, I think, beautifully illustrates the difference between doing it instead of them, so right through to coaching them. And the problem with giving me suggestions or giving someone we're coaching suggestions or ideas or asking closed questions is who's doing the work in that conversation?
The coach.
You are.
The coach.
You guys, right? We're doing the work. And for me, it's just, I can sit back and take it easy and just say, yeah, no, maybe, yeah, I thought about doing that. Versus if we can ask lots of open questions, then the work is being done by the other person, and the coach or the manager is just asking simple, short, open-ended questions, which really raise the tension in a good way in terms of helping people understand their situation. So let's go into this a little deeper. One of the challenges we see with managers is getting confused between some of the roles. Do I coach now? Do I train? Do I lead? Do I manage? Do I tell people what to do? And for that purpose, Lou's going to take us through a really lovely little model.
Right. Thanks, Phil. So as Phil has just said, getting clear, which hat are we wearing? What role are we playing here? And then how do we bring coaching into it? Given that we're aiming, for many of us to be human-centered, to bring the best out in others. So part of it is understanding, okay, what is the hat that I'm wearing here? What is the role I'm playing? And so just briefly, some of the roles that we can play. being a manager, someone who sets goals, sets the visions, brings the team together, often experts in what they're doing, following best practice, supporting their team to be the best that they can be. Another role is, sorry, I've just got my slides a little confused. Trainer. Okay, so trainers, they can be often external, but even if they're internal, they tend to be short-term. So they come in, they do the work that they need to go, but then at the end, often the support, the ongoing support is missing. Then there's, of course, counsellor, very different work to being the coacher, manager or trainer. Often coaches or managers, if they notice that someone is struggling in a particular way emotionally or psychologically, then we refer to counsellors or therapists. That's the inner work that's done separate often, even though the inner work influences both our personal and professional lives. It's not the expertise of the coach or the manager and trainer. The next one is our friend. So often these, with this hat, not very objective often, they're there, they're our friends, they're in it, they want to have the conversation, they're on our side, they'll back us 100%, which is wonderful and very different, again, from a coaching conversation and bringing out the thinking in a different way, although some of our friends can do that. Another role that many of us play is, or at times, mentor. And this tends to be a more informal position. It's a one-on-one, and it's focused on the longer-term growth and development of the person that we're connecting with, the wise advisor or sounding board. And then finally, but not the least, the leader. And the leader can, of course, we can swap hats in our leadership role. We can be doing different elements of all of this at different times, depending on the relationships and what's needed. What's important to notice is that in the middle of this, in the middle of all our roles, there is the opportunity to coach. So by thinking about the power of conversations, by understanding that we're wanting to bring the best out in our people and the language that we use, how do we harness all of that to, at times, coach, even when we've got these different hats on? But there's always the opportunity to ask good questions. The key to bring the best out in others, basically, the key, of course, is the trust, the levels of trust that we have with our people. And it's important to understand that no matter the role that we're playing, the level of trust we have will influence the outcome of our conversations, particularly in a coaching piece. So this lovely little model here, it's talking about trust, tension, and value. So the difference between these three roles, friends, coach, and then the experience of a micromanager. So I'll just be interested, as I'm moving through, if you think the trust or tension is high, I'll get you to go up or down for low. It's about thinking about a coaching conversation with a friend. What's the trust like? High, low? High, yep, absolutely. What about the tension in the conversation? Is it really challenging? Often high, low, just as a friend? Yeah, sort of medium. Yeah, we say that it's not as high as other relationships. And then the value of the conversation from a coaching perspective, not so high. Yeah, I know. Again, they're on our side, aren't they? Whether that's supporting us to be our best or not, that's their role. When we think of a coach, what's the trust like? Yeah. What it often has is the aim is for it to become very high, but it's often incremental. It takes time to build. So we need to be conscious around that, because it's the same with the tension that we create with our questions. We need to understand that is incremental, and it needs to be incremental. If we're too challenging, too fast, we can cause the person to withdraw or to shut down in some way. So with when we're coaching, building the trust and then incrementally increasing the challenge of the way that we're engaging in the questions that we're asking, so that we can work towards the highest value in the conversation. In converse, or in contrast, thinking about a micromanager. Who's ever been micromanaged before? Yeah. What's the trust like with the micromanager? Yeah, absolutely. Really low, really low. What's the tension like? Sky high. Yeah, I know, on edge, watching out. Absolutely. What's the value of the conversations? No, Dad, yeah, good. So very low value. In fact, what's important to notice is micromanaging is more than low value. It can actually detract.
Destructive.
Yes, yeah, disruptive. Absolutely, Nicole. So that's just a really lovely way to think about trust, because trust basically underpins, as we know, all our relationships. But within the coaching context, it's really important to understand how do we allow it to build incrementally so that we can increase the value of the conversations that we're having. Phil, you're going to take this and run with it.
I am going to run with it.
Yeah.
So thank you. I love this. I love this framework. I'm going to spend about 30 seconds on the GROW model. It's a very common model for those who haven't seen it before. Unfortunately, a lot of people think that coaching is the GROW model. The GROW model is just a simple structure for the actual conversation. A lot of people say John Whitmore created it. That's actually not true. I've heard it from the horse's mouth. His colleague Graham Alexander actually created it. John was actually the first one to publish it. But just by way of introduction, you can see the 4 areas there. It's a flexible framework to really help understand, what's the goal? Where are we now? It's like in the shopping center, unless you have that big map and the one little thing that says you are here, it's hard to orientate yourself. So that reality is you are here. Options, what could you do? And then wrap up is about commitment and action. So it's a great little model. The last, excuse me, the last part of today though, is what we wanted to finish on was really more of an aspirational piece, and why is the coaching playbook so important, and what sort of organizations do we want to create in the future? I think we're largely stuck in the industrial age paradigm. So I really love this metaphor, and the metaphor is of a traffic control signal. So 2 roads crossing present, deceptively simple challenge. How do we prevent cars from hitting one another while maintaining the maximum flow of traffic? Very common traffic control signals all over the world. So I wanted to ask you, what are some of the assumptions we have about drivers when we create a traffic control signal to control the movement of the cars? So in the chat, could you please just pop in, what are some of the assumptions we're making when we construct traffic control signals? Yep, people follow the rules. Absolutely. That everyone knows the rules. Great. Thanks, Nicole. They know how to interpret them. We assume that people follow them. Courtesy. Yep. People need the rules. Exactly, Jill. Same understanding. So it's interesting, isn't it? People cannot be trusted to manage the intersection on their own. So we need to control it. They need to be told what to do. Complex problems must be managed with an elaborate set of rules and technology in the form of cables, light switches, etc. And we need a plan for every possible scenario. As opposed to something which is a little different, roundabouts. Roundabout also represents an operating system where cars enter and exit. In Southern Hemisphere, we go in a clockwise direction, and there's a couple of simple rules, right? Go in clockwise direction and give way to anyone is in the roundabout. What are the assumptions we're making about drivers in the roundabout metaphor? Again, just pop them in the chat. How are they different to the traffic control signal? Okay, not many in the chat. Okay, couple. Same attitude. There are rules. They know the rules. They have the skill and knowledge. They know how to observe the system. Brilliant. So people can be trusted with just a couple of simple ideas or principles, and they'll use their judgment appropriately. Complex problems can be managed with simple rules and agreements that do leave some space and some scope for judgment. And many scenarios can unfold in a roundabout, and most of the time it works out. So here's some questions for you. Which one is safer? Again, in the chat, just put in 1 for traffic control signal, 2 for roundabout. Nicole, roundabout. Okay. Roundabout. Excellent. Well done. Which one has higher throughput, do you think? Which one's more efficient? Roundabout. Excellent. Well done. Which one is cheaper to build and maintain, do you think? I think you guys have read the book. Roundabout. Exactly. And finally, which one works better when the power goes out? Excellent. Roundabout. So you are 100% correct as a group. The left-hand side, traffic control signals really represent control and compliance, whereas roundabouts represent trust and autonomy. And I think the question and the challenge for us is, if we think about our own organisations, how many traffic control signals do we put in organisations unnecessarily because we don't trust people? We want them to be controlled, to comply, versus we trust them with some simple principles and policies and guidelines to use their judgment. And I think this is a lovely vehicle and foundation for coaching, because for coaching, we really trust and try and build autonomy and accountability for people to go away and really, take action on whatever their challenge or problem is. So this is from Aaron Dignan. He wrote a book called Brave New Work, which is a fantastic book. He talks about legacy organizations where the dominant view is mechanistic and we don't necessarily trust people. We try and control them, versus legacy organizations, evolutionary organizations, which we have an innate desire to fulfill people's potential, which is what coaching is all about. People are naturally motivated. We have assumptions that, a positive assumption and belief about people and their values and beliefs and attitudes. They're worthy of trust and respect. So I really like the contrast between those two. And as much as many organizations tell us they're in the evolutionary side, when I observe them in action, most of the time they're on the left-hand side. And so finally, a quote: "We cannot do the best work of our lives under the auspices of an operating system that presumes our stupidity, our laziness, and our untrustworthiness. When it comes to people, in many ways, you get what you design for. To be people positive is to assume and expect the best of everyone." So I think that's a lovely way to finish this webinar. Or this part of the webinar, we're going to open it up for Q&A, but I think this is a very powerful statement about the kind of organisations that we love to support to move to this, because we know the productivity, the efficiencies, the way people turn up engaged and feel valued and respected is worth the investment of our time and effort. So thank you. Over to you, Kelly.
Thanks so much, Phil. Thanks so much, Lou, for providing just a huge amount of insight into coaching conversations today. We'd like to open up to any questions that you might have. So please feel free to pop in some questions into the chat, and we will endeavour to answer as many as possible. I do have one prepared, if that's okay, Phil or Lou.
Without warning. Okay.
Without warning, I know. I'd love to know, and hopefully some others would love to know how leaders can get feedback on their own coaching style and effectiveness.
You want to answer that one, Lou?
Oh, well, what comes to mind first is to move towards someone that you trust and ask. Like, I think, clear is kind, seek out the support, begin actually discovering where your learning edge is, what works for you, what doesn't. But that's what comes to mind first and foremost, is be proactive around it. Don't be afraid to step out onto your learning edge and say, hey, I want to get better at this.
I think that requires the humility from people to ask the question, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I love what Adam Grant says in every single scenario and context. He says, what could I have done better? What can I do better next time? It doesn't matter who it is. Even when I went to see his keynote in Melbourne here a few months ago, or more than a few months ago, but he asked at the end of his keynote, what could I have done better? There was 1,000 people. Incredible.
And I love that, Phil, because that's about that, that whole we just can never stop learning, no matter how experienced we are.
Exactly.
But it can feel scary sometimes.
Yep.
Amazing. Thank you. It doesn't look like there's any other questions in the chat, but feel free to. Tanya has a hand up. Yes, fantastic. Tanya, feel free. Jump in.
Thank you. I have one question. So thanks, Phil, for that presentation about trust and in control. What do we do when someone, if you have, if you provide that environment where staff feel have that trust and autonomy to make decisions for themselves. But then when you have one or two people within the team who break that trust, and then you feel that you need to bring that control back. And I guess, my struggle is, when there are people who break that trust, and then I need to start setting rules, but it becomes like a blanket rule, and then, it becomes that control, and I just don't know how to manage that situation.
Yeah, it's a great question. I think that's where legacy systems and processes come from, right? Someone's done the wrong thing once, so we create a rule to govern that behavior, but it's normally a blanket rule, so everyone suffers, and this bureaucratic sludge is created where the time of execution and decision making, etc., just slows down and sometimes stops, which is problematic. So I think how do we in organizations do less of that? This applies to everyone because one person did something, which isn't in accordance with the guidelines, but how do we become more value-centric, which is more principle-based, like the roundabout, versus the traffic control signal, and how do we coach those individuals? I really like there's a 2x2 matrix, knowledge, skills, and experience on this horizontal axis, and on this axis is autonomy. And if someone is low in knowledge, skills, and experience, we start in the bottom left-hand corner, which is maybe I tell. And then as we move up the axis, we go, we discuss, I tell, we discuss, you decide, we discuss, etc. And it goes right up to the top where actually you just take action without letting me know, for example. So that's quite a nice one. So we have to know where people are at in terms of knowledge, skills, and experience, and not have a blanket approach to everyone.
So you can have different rules for different
I think so, yeah. Not different rules in a formal sense, but different ways. Yeah, I think that old catchphrase, which is completely wrong. I manage people how I like to be managed. I wish that was never a thing. That's just not true. I manage people how they want to be managed or led. So yeah. Is that opened up? Is that Tanya? Did you think that's kind of answered your question? We could probably talk about this for much longer, I think.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks, Tanya.
Any other questions at all? I know we've covered quite a lot today around what it takes to be an effective leader, and we also know that leadership is also more than these coaching conversations. It's also about creating healthy, high-performing cultures where both people and results can thrive. So Lou and Phil have given a beautiful sneak peek into our Leadership Excellence program. As I'm sure you can imagine, as I mentioned, we're just going to cover a little bit about what our Leadership Excellence program is all about, and how, if you've enjoyed today's session, how you might like to join us on one of our next programs. So Lou mentioned our leadership excellence model and framework earlier in today's session. So this is really the framework that we think about when it comes to great leadership. We know it starts with self, as Lou mentioned. Brené Brown also talks about, who we are is how we lead. So that self component is really important. And then moving around outward from there, often we find people just want to get to that implementation or the projects and the performance and the doing part. But of course, we know that it's that really beautiful balance between that transformational change and changing ourselves. So we have a really strong focus on self in this program. And as you can see in the diagram, then we move around to leading teams, leading people, and then leading the organization. So why leadership excellence? So the Leadership Excellence program really is designed to bridge a gap between technical expertise and leadership capability. So something we find a lot of high-performing professionals face is that they step into a leadership role without sometimes formal training. So this program is really designed to help participants to develop really great self-awareness and emotional intelligence, and also to gain insight into their personal leadership styles as well, and how to lead with authenticity and purpose ultimately. And then it goes beyond theory by sharpening those practical coaching and communication skills, as we've seen a little bit of today, and really empowering the leaders that join the program to build trust and foster accountability within their teams. So then once you've built these capabilities, the program then helps to cultivate that high-performing, resilient team culture, and really help you to remain aligned and adaptable in the face of change. And of course, we address the challenges of modern leadership in today's evolving work environment. Obviously, we're all aware, and this program really speaks to and provides those essential tools and frameworks to help you to navigate uncertainty and to lead really with confidence. So who specifically is Leadership Excellence designed for? It's designed for new and emerging leaders, but also mid-level managers seeking growth. So professionals who want to enhance their leadership impact and prepare for those senior roles. And it's also for organizations who are really committed to leadership development. So it's those companies that are looking to build a pipeline of really capable leaders to drive performance and culture. So this particular program that we're speaking about today is open to the public, but we also can collaborate with organizations to create in-house programs as well. So we'd love to speak to you if that's of interest for your organization. And then leadership excellence is really perfect for you if sometimes you feel maybe a little bit overwhelmed or stretched thin, or if you find yourself having difficulty navigating any conflict or giving constructive feedback, or if you feel uncertain about how to have those effective coaching or performance conversations. Maybe you feel like you have to do it all because sometimes the team lacks initiative or taking accountability. And also if you feel like you're lacking some structured tools or frameworks for coaching, communication, and also decision making. So if any of these points resonate, this is definitely the program for you to consider. And I also wanted to share this beautiful testimonial. This is from a client who's completed the program a long time ago, 10 years, in fact. As you can see here, Steve's written a beautiful comment. This is on social media, but he says it's coming on to the 10-year anniversary of a leadership program run by Phillip Ralph for Open Universities Australia. And I found myself reaching for my notes from that time to take inspiration as we continue to build the next set of leaders at CEVO. The approach Phil took us through covered 3 layers of leadership: leading self, leading projects, and leading people. And he said he really didn't realize how much he took until he went back and reflected on the lessons and advice. And he can see just a decade later, how much of that stuck with him and has provided that baseline for the leader that he is today. So beautiful testimonial there. And I think it really goes to show how a program like this can really have a lasting impact, and not just for now, but also into the future as well. So what's included in the program? We've got an introductory session, which really sets up the program well, followed by 6 4-hour weekly virtual leadership workshops delivered by the beautiful Louise Duncan, who is here in the room today. We've also got the pre and post work, including some online resources, surveys and webinars, and then some supporting online resources as well. There's also a couple of bonuses included in this particular program. So we've got the HBDI Start Thinking profile. So this profile is a really powerful tool used to understand different thinking preferences. So we break them down into 4 quadrants. So the what, which is the blue, focused on data and facts; the why, the yellow, which is driven by vision and purpose; the how, which is the green, focused on processes and systems; and then the who, which is the red, which is concerned with relationships and human impact. And I think what makes HBDI really powerful is that it's supported by neuroscience. So it's not just about personality or behavior, it's about how our brains are wired to think in really different ways. So it's a really amazing tool. I've actually just gone through it myself, and really excited to dive deeper into that tool. So that's included as a bonus, as well as the actionable habit builder, which is based on nudge theory. So you'll have access to that technology as well, because we know changing habits can be really hard. So this nudge technology can work on a schedule that's designed by each individual and can track your progress really easily. So that's another bonus there within the program. Just briefly, this is the program agenda. So as you can see, we cover those 6 elements. So sessions 1 and 2 are focused on leading self. Sessions 3 and 4 are centered around teams. Sessions 5 and 6 around leading people, and then leading through change as well. So just so you're aware of the investment, normally it's a $17.50 plus GST, but we do have a special webinar offer, and I'm going to pop the link into the chat for you. So it's a pretty significant discount there. And I've got that link there in the chat for anybody that wants to have a little bit of a further look there. And you can see we have a code for you to use. If you pop in the webinar code, you will receive that discount there. And we have also an exclusive webinar bonus. So for the first 5 people that register in the next 48 hours, they'll receive a 45-minute one-on-one coaching session, which is valued at $500. So dates, this is pretty important. The upcoming programs, we've got an August program. There's only 5 places left in the August program. And we've also got October as well. So they're the dates up there, and you can also find those at the link that I've posted there as well. So if you feel like this is possibly the right fit for you, we would love to see you in the Leadership Excellence program. We would love for you to join us, or feel free to reach out if you'd like to talk about an in-house program as well. And just finally wanted to have our development streams up here. So we do cover those 3 streams, not just Leadership Excellence. And I know we've hit the hour mark. We try and keep on time with these events. So finally, Phil, would you like to share a little free gift for those who have stuck around today?
The book that I referenced. Love to send that to you. All we ask is you just put a nice post on social media about this webinar, and that's it. And we'll send you a book. Simple. And yeah, maybe tag myself in it as well. So yeah, thanks so much. Hey, well done, Kelly. It was fun watching you talk so fast, trying to finish on time. So thanks so much, everyone. On behalf of Kelly and Lou, excuse me, too much talking today. I'm not getting emotional, trust me. So it's been fantastic to have you here today, and hopefully, you're taking something practical away as well. So thanks so much, and stay tuned because we intend to run many more webinars. We think it's a great way to get the message out there. So thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone. Take care.